Hello, my lovely peaches. So I wanted to pop on and do a little talking about the video I just posted, which I actually got from Pretty Lies and Alibis, which is linked in the video description, where the full video that I got the excerpt from is linked. So in that video, Charlie Adelson is on the phone, jail call, with his mom, Donna. Adelson. It says it's from November 8th, 2023, which was 5 days before Donna herself was arrested. And I just find it so remarkable. The little clip that I posted out of this hour and 13 long minute video is really just an amazing summary of most of the case, that in Charlie's own words, why it's absurd to believe that it was a coincidence. So I also wanted to add to it, while he's lamenting again and again, multiple times throughout this hour-long video, and from what I've heard, him and Donna spoke on the phone for 35 hours, and apparently that was like 5 hours a day. Like 5 hours a day that they spoke. And someone else mentioned in the comments of the original video I saw that every clip that they've listened to of Charlie's jail calls, he complains about the fact that Wendy drove by the scene of the crime and what a coincidence it is. And somebody else mentioned that this hour-long video is just part of that day. Like, yes, it was an hour and 13 minutes on the phone that day, but that was just a portion of whatever Donna and Charlie talked about that day. So I really just wanted to add and stress, not only is he himself pointing out the absurdity of the expectation that anybody would believe that Wendy just happened to drive by the scene of the crime on Trescott, where her ex-husband was getting shot, at that moment when she lives miles and miles away, and she was going to a liquor store when there were multiple liquor stores she could have gone to closer to where she was, and there were other more direct routes to get there if she did still want to go to that one for whatever reason. And he even just said himself, she took the long way shortcut. She took the long cut shortcut.
Taking shortcut, long cut, miles away.
And what he's not mentioning is, I'm just re-emphasizing, not only was it a 1 in a million chance that she would be driving by the scene of the crime, add to the fact that it's a 1 in a million chance that she's just driving by the scene of the crime that she happens to be the one who benefits the most of. She was the one who benefited the most. Yes, Donna and Harvey and Charlie benefited, but she was the one who benefited the ultimate most, because it meant she got to move where she wanted to be. She got to raise her kids the way she wanted to. Something else I really wanted to mention that I thought, oh, this keeps sliding. Hold on, let me. Okay. Something that I thought was such an extra insult to injury, as I watched the 5-hour police interview from July 18th of 2014, Wendy Adelson. I watched the whole thing of her talking, and there was a couple of times when one of the sergeants had said, Joanna, I think, had said, Wendy was saying she was, concerned about the kids. So she was like, oh, it'll just be, oh, mom's busy working and we're taking the kids to McDonald's. And at the time, I didn't think anything. But then today, I watched Wendy testifying on the stand. I watched the one where she was testifying in Katie McDonald's trial. And she was saying one of the problems they had was that Dan wanted them to be kosher, where you cannot mix dairy and meat So for them to go to McDonald's is probably like the ultimate insult. The man is dying in the hospital and you're taking the kids to McDonald's. I think my kids are home. Okay. Okay. Yes, my kids are home. That's my Christmassy look. So just to wrap up the video. So there's a 1 in a million chance that she would coincidentally be driving by the scene of the crime at the exact time of the crime, and yet there she was. And she also was the one who benefits the ultimate most from the crime happening. And there was also the fact that Luis Rivera said when Sigfredo called Katie McDonald to say, hey, we're done, Katie already knew, which leads one to think the possibility that when Wendy drove by, she communicated with someone, probably Charlie, who then communicated with Katie, which is how they already knew. And another thing that Charlie said, which I think it would be especially a nice ribbon of justice wrapped around Wendy's conviction if she's convicted with Charlie's own words, which are, you know, this is a 1 in a million chance that that would have occurred that way. And so he says, what if this is that one time, that 1 in a million time where what if this is the 1 in a million time where it isn't what it looks like? It isn't the fact that she was driving by the scene of the crime because she couldn't help herself, because she's the ex-wife, because people are always drawn to the scene of their own crime, because she just needed to know, because she was desperate and anxious, and so she went by there, and that she was the one who benefited. And she literally 2 days after they put this man in the ground, or whatever they did, she went to Miami. She wanted desperately to go. He was the thing that was stopping her. He was the barrier to her getting what she wanted. He died. She gets what she wanted. And she gets financial benefits from it as well, which Charlie also talked about in the recording. So I was listening. So Pretty Lies and Alibis posted that video 4 hours ago, and an hour ago they posted another hour and 44 minutes of them. And actually looking at their channel now, I see 55 minutes, an hour and 52 minutes. It's just literally just videos, hours and hours and hours of Charlie and Donna. So if you're interested in listening to the jail calls that occurred before Donna got arrested, Pretty Lies and Alibis on YouTube is posting them now, and I highly recommend it. And I'm just talking about, so I spent all weekend, well, I listened to the 3 police interviews with Jeff Lacoste. I listened to over an hour of Wendy testifying at Katie McDonald's trial. I listened to Tamara Demko, I think was her name, a friend of Dan and Wendy. And Tamara talked about being suspicious of Wendy's behavior. And there was talk that Wendy had a concerted effort to make it seem like Dan was an abusive, terrible husband, and to spread lies about him, and that he was saying things about her, like she had mental health problems, and that she said he was disparaging her. But it seems as if the things that he said about her were true. That's what Jeff Lacoste said, that when he first started dating Wendy, he was so taken by her and so in love with her, and he believed whatever she said, and he couldn't stand Dan. But the more he got to see Dan and know Dan and realize what Dan was speaking was the truth, and that in fact Wendy was the one who was problematic. It does make me feel so sad. It makes me think about, was it Lori Vallow's husband, Charles Vallow, who was like telling people, you know, she's crazy, and they didn't believe him. They thought he was crazy, and now he's dead. And it's just, you know, it's also really eerie to me. The very last text that Wendy sent to Dan said, maybe I'll find it tomorrow, but it said something along the lines of, oh, because she said she was texting him because she wanted to pick up the kids earlier than she was supposed to. And then, so she said something like, now I have to find it. Well, I just spent half an hour trying to find the specific clip. I can't find it, but she's talking about the day of the murder in the morning. Oh, she's saying she's upset that the last thing that she said to him wasn't something nice, and she wanted to pick the kids up early. He wanted to take the kids swimming. She said, well, what about last week? I picked them up at 5 or whatever. And he said, well, that was last week. And so the last text she said was something like, well, that was nice while it lasted. Or the niceness was nice while it lasted. Something like that, but it was so ominous. Like, so imagine the last thing she said to him was like, well, it was nice while it lasted, and then later, a couple hours later, he's getting shot to death because she was sick of having to deal with him. Also, she said the reason that her mother called him Gibbers was because she wanted a name that made him seem less scary to her. When gibber to gibbers to rant incessantly, to talk about nonsense incessantly, and that was why the mother called him that. And Wendy. That's what she called him that, because they thought what he had to say was nonsense, and that he was incessantly ranting nonsense, that he was gibbering. So this is my contribution. Just like her friend Jane said, her contribution was adding Jeff Lacoste's name as a suspect, even though just a couple days before the murder, Wendy was all up in Jane's ear about how crazy and jealous and disappointed Jeff was, and basically feeding it to her that Jeff would have been the number one suspect. Who could have done this? Who could have done this? Who could have done this, Jane? You did it, Wendy. You benefited the most from it. And allegedly, and that's my opinion. So I made a comment, I think, on Pretty Lies and Alibis that it really sounds like Charlie.
And that's what people are looking at. They're getting curious. You got some Miami bitch who put down Tallahassee. She's better than everybody. She's wrote it in her book. Who's showing up at the crime scene. Those are two facts that you can't dispute. She wanted to leave, and she got to leave. She thought it was a little stop on the way to nowhere, on the way to civilization.
Now can set up this whole new defense, which I don't believe. I believe they were all in on it, but maybe Charlie will decide, you know what, fuck this, I've given up everything. All for this fucking Miami bitch who thought she was better than everything and everybody, and she thought her shit didn't stink, and she wanted to move back out of this little shithole, this little blip of a nothing that was a blip of nothing on the way to civilization. Maybe he can now come out and say, well, she must have hired Katie McBanois secretly behind my back. And then that's how Katie knew. And that's why they came to extort me, even though we don't believe that because we know that they were all in on it, okay? But maybe it is time for him to turn on her. Something needs to happen because that woman needs to go to jail. And I'll be happy to see that. So, okay, bye. Let's listen one more time.
You don't think they're going to do that in the courtroom. No, you don't. You know? What is it? And listen, I get it. I've done it with you for an hour or two. Like, oh, what are the chances? I said that. I said, what are the fucking chances of this
What are the
happening
chances
like this?
of that happening like this?
The answer is, that's crazy.
The answer is
Yeah, because that's
almost none.
That's crazy is an appropriate answer.
That's crazy is an appropriate answer because it's crazy to think we think it's a coincidence she showed up at the crime scene.
You say that's crazy once, you say that's crazy twice, that's crazy. Or did she just not help herself?
Right. Because she knew.
9 times I say 100. Showing up for a reason.
You're showing up for a reason to the crime scene.
Taking a shortcut, a long cut, 10 miles away.
Right there. Taking a shortcut. That's a long cut.
Taking a shortcut, a long cut, 10 miles away.
Taking a shortcut.
Shortcut, a long cut. 100. Showing up for a reason.
Taking a shortcut. That's a long cut. 10 miles away. To pass by what's going on. That right there.
As much as I am today, I would have come to conclusion.
I think if I had analyzed it as much as I am today, I would have come to the conclusion.
I don't know if people would talk to me.
It's at the end of this. No. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly. What are the chances that she would be taking a long cut 10 miles away to drive by the scene of a crime at the exact moment that it's happening, when she is the one who benefits the most of all from it, and because the man is dead, now she can have whatever she wants, which she did for the past 10 years. Don't you think it's time for her to go to jail? I do. Team Wendy's next.
9 times I say 100. That's crazy. Or did she just not help herself? 9 times I say 100. Showing up for a reason. Taking a shortcut, a long cut, from 10 miles away to pass by and see what's going on. That right there. I think if I had analyzed it as much as I am today, I would have come to a conclusion today. I don't know if people would generally talk to me.
No, I think this is where their call starts to break up. I'm not sure. I think he's saying a different conclusion. I'm going to let it just run out the last minute, see if any. But I think we're all coming to a different conclusion. Not that he is not guilty, not that Donna is not guilty, but that Wendy is also guilty. This is Team Wendy is next, because I believe she is guilty and she benefited the most from this crime. Anytime you want to know who done it.
Can you hear me?
Who benefited?
Charlie? Charlie?